Hello everybody, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis. Welcome to today's video. Today is going to be episode 3, at last, of Cult Mechanicus Codex analysis, where we're going to be taking a look at all of the formations. Now, excuse me, good start. Right, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, there are 4 formations in here. You do use, I think, every single unit. Yeah, you do. Use every single unit, which is nice. Unless I've missed one, which I don't think I have, because I'm not that dumb. Nope. Got all of the 6 units that are in this codex. And we've got them in some formation. So let's see how they all function. Now, what I would recommend, it's been a while, so if you haven't watched them recently, go back and have a look at the previous 2 parts of this review so as you can go and catch up on what we've been doing so far. I'll put the link to the Adeptus Mechanicus playlist in the description below. You can also go and have a look and get a refresher course in Skitarii while you're there, because the next video in this little series that I'm going to be doing is a AdMech combined review where we bring Cult Mechanicus and Skitarii together to see how it all functions as a big Adeptus Mechanicus conglomerate, which, to be honest, it should have been in the bloody first place. Anyway, on with the review. So, the first formation is the Cohort Cybernetica. It's basically a bunch of big scary robots. So the formation consists of 1 Tech Priest Dominus and 2 Castellan Robot Maniples. They're the really big things, and your Dominus is your HQ. And the only restriction is that they must all be fielded as a single unit. So you don't get a Dominus to drop somewhere and then 2 robot squads to go around and do some damage. They must be put into one big blob. That means you've got to put at least, it is just 1 robot bare minimum. No. You're going to have at least 4 robots and 2 data smiths on the board along with your Dominus. So the bare minimum cost is going to be 580 plus 105. There's about 700 points bare minimum to put this on the table. But if you consider that each squad of robots can go up to 6, then it starts to get very expensive very quickly, to put a long story short, if you want it to. And of course, 1 big unit. So, 2 special rules go along with this, and the designer's note, which we'll do first. This formation counts as 3 units for the purposes of Canticles of the Omnissiah until it is completely destroyed, and counts as 3 units for the purposes of victory points when it is completely destroyed. So that means that putting this formation on the table, you get 3 Canticle points immediately. Which means that if you just look at which level of, that I'm going the wrong blimmin' way. Codexes, put the special rules and everything in different places. Whatever. So yeah, Canticle, that will be at the top of the lowest level of each Canticle before you've even paid for anything else, which is pretty nice. It doesn't actually buff the Canticles, you need a 4th unit for that, but it's still pretty nice. And considering how hard it's going to be to put down, it basically takes the victory point for the Dominus out of the game, because killing 4 robots, 2 Data Smith, and a Dominus just to pick up those 3 victory points could be a good place to hide your Warlord. Right, so special rules. Adept of the Cybernetica. This formation's Tech Priest Dominus counts as a Cybernetica Datasmith for the purposes of the Castellan Battle Protocols. So that means that even if you lose your Datasmiths, you can still change protocol between Aegis, Conqueror, and Protector. However, there's an extra thing. Furthermore, as long as this Dominus has not been removed as a casualty, any battle protocol you choose takes effect at the end. At the end of your turn, takes effect immediately. I'll get my words out in a minute. So normally the protocols don't change until the start of your next turn. So if you desperately need to feel no pain, you couldn't do it. If you desperately needed to get more attacks because you've been charged, you couldn't do it. You had to wait until the start of your next turn, giving your opponent a chance to finish you off or do enough damage. But with the Dominus in this formation, you can switch on a whim immediately. It also means that you never need to pay for the relic, which allows you to change immediately and then overrules, which is the, I feel like it's the mask of the something majig. I've forgotten. The names are really complicated on the Arcana Mechanicum. Yeah, the Mask of the Alpha Dominus. I was right. So what that does, it allows you to change the battle protocol of a unit within 12 inches, which comes immediately behind this one you change from the rest of the game. You basically don't need that. Although what it does say is it does change it immediately. So if you change it to something like in the assault phase, it starts in the assault phase. The cohort still changes at end of turn. Just something to bear in mind. But if you desperately need the feel no pain because you just took more damage than you thought, well, you get that option, which is good. Second of all, targeting override. In the shooting phase, any number of this formation's datasmiths and or the Dominus can choose to direct the fire of one Castellan robot instead of shooting themselves. Bear in mind their guns are generally pretty crap. For each model that does so, one Castellan robot can shoot at a different targets to the rest of the unit. This is bustedly good. So what this means is you get, in theory, infinite split fire, because you can get 3 datasmiths in a Castellan robot unit. So all you need to do is take 1 datasmith per robot, as long as you don't go above 3, and then you have the Dominus, so if you do want to go above 3, you can do, so you can fire at 8 different targets. The one that's locked to you by that's the unit's targeting, then 1 for the Dominus, and 1 for each of the datasmiths. 8 different targets! What the heck? Jesus, man. Although that might not be that good, because sometimes you might just want overwhelming firepower. And I think because they're all a unit, you have to declare this immediately. It's not like, this robot's going to fire, okay, he didn't do enough, so this one's going to fire, okay, now I'm done enough, so now I'm going to use my Dominus ability and send this one. No, you have to declare first, because you declare an attack as a unit. Something you just have to bear in mind. This formation is good, but if someone has a good answer to monstrous creatures, for example, instant death / force, you get wrecked pretty fast. You do have no, you don't have a 2+ save. I'm talking nonsense. I'm talking out my pie hole. Yeah. Be careful of instant death with this one. So you know. Good place to put your warlord though, because it's pretty hard to kill this formation if they don't have it. Right, next up, the Elimination Maniple. Cool name. So, 2 to 3 units of Cataphrone destroyers and 1 to 3 Castellan robot maniples with no restrictions whatsoever. Oh bloody hell. So, minimum cost, we're looking at 290 for the robot unit, and for the destroyers, it was destroyers, wasn't it? I'm not losing my mind. Yes, destroyers, it's 165 per unit, and you need a minimum of 2 of them, so that's 330. So you're looking again about 600 to 700 points to put this thing on the table. And of course, you can get a 3rd unit, and you can go bigger units, and you get more robots, and, well, generally crazy things happen. There's only one special rule that comes along with this. So it's called Elimination Volley. If a Castellan robot from this formation scores an unsaved wound, glance, or penetrating hit on a unit with a weapon that has Luminogen, all destroyers from this formation that target the same unit have +1 ballistic skill and their weapons ignore cover until the end of that phase. Remember, your robots have a weapon that has Luminogen. I just forgot what it's called at the moment. The Phosphor Blasters, that's it. So this is a formation where you take the Heavy Phosphor Blaster in place of Power Fist and the Heavy Phosphor Blaster in place of the Incendiary Combustor, because you want Luminogen hits. Bearing in mind, these Heavy Phosphor Blasters, if I remember correctly, are not ridiculously good at killing things. Okay, I stand correct. They're 6/3 Heavy 3. So yeah, just score an unsaved wound, score a glance, and then you can just finish it off. For this, you'll probably want your robots firing at different things at different times. As a result, having multiple units of robots might be useful, just because that means you get multiple options for where to put your destroyer hits with the Luminogen. And in terms of weapons you want to use on your destroyers, because you have options, you can either go with the Plasma Culverin or the Heavy Grav Cannon. Given your ballistic skill is 3, you may want to consider the Grav Cannon actually, because your I've lost it. Heavy Grav Cannon is 4 shots, and that can just get 1,000,000 hits in. Alternatively, your Culverin is a 2-shot blast with Gets Hot, so it may not benefit as much being a blast weapon as the Grav Cannon might. Up to you though, I wouldn't really know either way. I was getting mixed up with the Torsion Cannon there, my mistake. Right, next one. Okay, just quick. Sorry, just finish off that formation. So the Elimination Maniple is strong. It's expensive because everything in this codex is expensive. And I worry about its power in its base state because you're only going to be able to hit one unit at a time. The Fossil Blasters do have a good range, but the Plasma Culverins in particular don't. Just something to bear in mind, you may want to invest in the second robot unit, which adds more points into the unit, takes up to nearly 1,000 points. Next up, the Numinous Conclave. This one's quite cool. It's the Electro Priest formation, and it's 2 to 3 units of Fulgurite Electro Priest and 2 to 3 units of Corpuscari Electro Priest. The only rule is you must have an equal number of each type of unit in this formation. So if you take 2 Electro Priests for the Fulgurite, you must take 2 Corpuscari. If you take 3 Fulgurite, you must take 3 Corpuscari. So, bare minimum cost that we're looking at for this formation is 90 points times 2, 180, plus 90 points times 2 is 180, that's 360 points to put this formation on the table at its bare cost, and that's 20 guys, which is not bad, I suppose. So, they have Crusader, and I always forget what Crusader does. Something to do with sweeping advances, right? Something to do with sweeping advances, and possibly run moves. I can't remember, sorry. But I know it's designed to be like get forward and do stuff. So yeah, kind of cool. I just can't remember what it does right now. Sorry. Models in... Okay, 2 rules. The Corpuscari giveth. Models in a unit of Corpuscari Electro Priest in this formation within 6 inches of one or more unit of Fulgurite Electro Priest in this formation fire 1 additional shot when shooting with their Electrostatic Gauntlets. Given that the Electrostatic Gauntlets actually have 2 shots already and are twin linked, that's pretty good, although their range is crap, 12 inches. Does not give you +1 attack in melee, bear that in mind. Enemy units that suffer 1 or more unsaved wounds from these shooting attacks are said to be electrified until the end of the assault phase, which links into the rule, the Fulgurites taketh away. So the Corpuscari charge them up, and the Fulgurites wreck them with it. Units of Fulgurite Electro Priests from this formation reroll to wound with their Electro Leech stays if they are locked in close combat with a unit in a close combat with any electrified unit. So if you're fighting a multi-combat and one unit is electrified, you get the bonuses on all of them. Bearing in mind that this weapon is already +2 strength AP4, it's basically a power maul with instant death on a 6 to wound. It's pretty good. Alright, it's pretty good. I'm not going to say it's ridiculous, but it's pretty good. So what this wants to do is run its units in pairs with 1 Fulgurite and 1 Corpuscari running together. The Corpuscari shoot something with their Electrostatic Gauntlets, and then they both charge in together, or the Fulgurites charge in alone, which may actually be to your benefit, because of their Siphoned Vigor. Because if they can destroy a unit in the assault phase, then their saving throw becomes a 3+ invulnerable until the end of the game, including sweeping advances. Whereas if it's the Electro Priest, they get 2 extra attacks, they roll a 6 to hit. I forgot about that, so there's an extra shot for their shooting attacks. Also applies in melee, which is pretty nice. They might accidentally kill the unit first. So always attack. If you can't kill them first round, go with the Corpuscari first. If you think you can, go with the Electro Priest, the Fulgurites first. I keep going Electro Priest, they're both Electro Priests, I'm a dumbass. So yeah, something to remember. So basically that's the idea. Shoot something with the Corpuscari, charge it with the Fulgurites, and wreck it. You may also want to charge them with Corpuscari, depends on if you think your Fulgurites can kill it before they get killed in return. Because if you can get in and kill them with the Fulgurites, you get a 3+ invulnerable for the rest of the battle, and that's pretty awesome. This formation, 360 points bare min, it's not bad, but it's got to get right up in your face, shoot you, and then charge you. And considering you're only going to have a 5-up save the first time you go in, at best, with your against Overwatch, that might not be good. That maybe is a good use of the Corpuscari, is to take the Overwatch so as the Fulgurites get in, do the damage, kill the unit, and get access to their super invulnerable from their Electro Leeches. And finally, we have the Holy Requisitioner, which is 1 Dominus and 2 to 3 units of Cataphron Breaches. See, I told you we'd use all the units. So, this base cost Cataphron Breaches are 150 points each, that's 300 for the unit, plus 105. That's 405 points bare minimum. You can, of course, have a third unit, taking it up to 555. I can't do maths. And that's before you add any additional models into the unit, if you can. I can't remember right now, but if you watch the previous parts, you'll know if you can. So, 3 special rules. One of them is Deep Strike, which is pretty good. I mean, if you look at the guns that you carry on a Breacher, they have their heavy arc rifle, their arc claw, and you can also take either hydraulic claw or the torsion cannon. They have a melee weapon. This is the point. So having Deep Strike allows them to get a lot closer to use that melee weapon. Also, the torsion cannon's range isn't amazing, and the heavy arc rifle, while it does have very good range, might actually be beneficial up close, and in melee, well, you want to be up close anyway. Dominus is also pretty strong in close combat. He's got not very good guns from memory. He's got, what's he got? He's got a Macro Stubborn and a Volkite Blaster. Not too bad. But he's also got a Power Axe and his Mechadendrite Harness will do some damage. He's got Feel No Pain. So, and he can heal stuff as well. So, getting up close might be pretty good. Right, so what does this formation do besides Deep Strike and cause shenanigans? Well, something just happened. Nope, it's alright, we're good. Apparition Extremis. All models in this formation must be placed in Deep Strike Reserve. When making reserve rolls, make a single roll for the entire formation, which you can choose to re-roll. Doesn't say successful or not. So that means that you can keep it back if you wanted to come in a little bit later. On a successful reserve roll, all the units in the formation arrive immediately. The Dominus must be placed first, but does not scatter with any deep strikes if he is placed within 6 inches of an objective marker. The Cataphrone Breaches do not scatter if they are placed within 6 inches of the Dominus, which is pretty cool. The whole idea of this formation is that they come in, secure an asset, and then leave again to go and secure something else, perhaps. And I like that. So, when you want them to come in, you roll the d6, you get a 3+, or if you don't want it, you re-roll it, try and get a 1 or 2. If you get a 2, you re-roll to get a 3+, whatever, and they arrive. You place the Dominus down within 6 inches of an objective marker, and then the Cataphrone Breaches within 6 inches of him. Nice. Also, you get an extra rule on top of that. It's called Inhuman Avarice. Whilst they're within 6 inches of an objective marker, units of Breaches from this formation have Counterattack and Zealot. This means you want to put them between you and the objective marker if you're the Dominus, because not only do they form a nice holy wall between you and it, but they also get the benefits of Fearless, Hatred, and Counterattack, which is pretty nice. You can probably rock the Dominus into the unit if you use a run move for him. But remember, your shooting attacks as well are the more important thing. You don't get any bonuses when you arrive, and this applies to all objective markers, not just the objective marker you arrive within 6 inches from. So what you can do is do your thing, drop in, kill everything that's on that objective, leave a unit of Breaches behind with Fearless, and then run the Dominus with the other Breaches off to go and get another one where they get the counterattack Zealot benefits again. It's pretty nice. Bearing in mind, Zealot does apply to the Dominus as well if he's in the unit with the Breaches, which means that he'll obviously be fearless, and I believe he'll be really willing to hit the first round of combat, because that's how Chaplains and Dark Apostles work. And there you go. So that's your formations for Cult Mechanicus. They're all bloody expensive. I mean, the cheapest one is just over 350 points, and the most expensive, at its bare minimum, is about 700. Yeah, 700, bare minimum. Admittedly, it's very powerful, but you know. So there we go. So what do I think of them? Well, the cohort is extremely powerful, but you need the Data Smiths alive to make it work. So invest in Data Smiths and you'll be firing for days at doing 1,000,000 split fires. It's all good. The Elimination Mana Pool. You need more robots, because you want to be getting as many Luminogen hits on as many things as possible so as your destroyers do maximum damage. Probably try and match it up at 1 mana pool to 1 destroyer units. That way you can use them to tag and then boom. And if you need to add more units in, you can do so. So either get another unit of robots or go full in and get all the units and then basically spend your entire army on it. The Numinous Conclave. This is very, very cool. I like this. It's nice and fluffy and nice and narrative, which is nice. But I don't know how good it is because it's got across the board whilst having at best a 5+ invulnerable save. Yeah, a 5+ invulnerable save. I mean, they're both Zealots, so they're not going to run away, which is nice. And they've got Feel No Pain, which is nice. But A 5+5+, I can tell you as an Orc player, it's not that good. So bear that in mind. They've got to get across the board, but if they do get across the board and you're facing someone that's not a Space Marine, you'll do a bloody good job, so go for it. And that's your cheapest one. The Holy Requisitioner, this is your Alpha Striker. Although it doesn't arrive on turn 1 like a drop pod Alpha Strike would, it's kind of the same principle. Drop it on an objective marker, wipe it clean, and then just hold it for days. Because Fearless, Zealot, Fearless, Hatred, Counterattack, kind of nice, and you don't scatter if you ran within 6 inches if you're the Dominus, and 12 inches basically if you are the Breachers. Pretty cool, I have to say. So, that is the end of the formations, and that's the end of the Codex. It's taken me many months to get this codex done, and for that I am sorry to all of you because I'm fucking useless. So, what do I make a Cult Mechanicus? Well, I don't really know. I want to sing its praises because it's cool, and it is cool, but it's so lacking in options. I mean, when your basic troops are 50 points a model, you're not going to have a very large army because the only things that are relatively cheap, i.e. the Electro Priests, are still more points than a Space Marine, nowhere near as survivable as a Space Marine, nowhere near as good as a Space Marine in many cases, and you only get 3 slots for them. Admittedly, you can get 20 per slot, which is 360 points. You can get a reasonable sized army out of it, but it's not going to be that easy. What you want to rely on is basically overwhelming firepower to just kill one thing at a time, because you're only really going to have enough guns to kill 1, maybe 2 things at a time. And if you want to kill a Horde army, good flipping luck. The only weapon that has a lot of shots, by which I mean like more than 2, in its base form, you have... What have we got? We've got the Heavy Grav Cannon, which is going to be terrible against anything that's a Horde because it's armor save. A Macro Stubber, 5 shots, but it's a pistol. It's like 4 AP 6. It's got terrible range. The Heavy Phosphor Blaster has 3 shots on your robots, which is kind of nice. Your Volkite Blaster, which is pretty rare, so things on your Dominus, has Deflagrate, which is kind of cool. You can do additional hits, so that's kind of good, but it's kind of rare. And that's it. Killing big stuff, big hordes is going to be a flipping nightmare. Shooting hordes are going to ruin you. But you do have some good things. One, there's a lot haywire in here. I have to say, there's quite a bit of haywire. I'm pretty sure I've seen a lot of haywire knocking about, or at least a lot of anti-vehicle. Graviton can hurt vehicles, haywire hurts vehicles, Armor Bane hurts vehicles. Luminogen has its purposes against vehicles, and maybe not. Plasma Culverins rank 7, plasma guns are alright. Gravitic Contortion, ridiculous against vehicles, even score a penetrating hit. Deflagrate's no good. And that's Flamers. So yeah, you've got options for killing vehicles. Do you have any haywire melee weapons, actually? Yep, the Arc Claw is a melee weapon with haywire. The Data Spike has haywire. Iron Grasp for the Hydraulic Claw. That can hurt vehicles. You've got a lot of anti-vehicle in here. So, Guard Parking Lot is pretty much buggered. Also, it can't battle cannon you very well because, well, you've got 5% invuln on your thingamajigs, your Electro Priests, and your Destroyers and Breachers are both toughness 5s, so good luck. And 2 wounds and power armor. The Dominus is a little bit fragile. He's basically a Space Marine captain in Artificer armor, but with no Iron Halo. He's got a Refractor Field instead and feel no pain. So, a Las Cannon shot, and he's got a 1 in 3 chance to live. He's basically just going to be like a 3-wound Terminator. Think of him as a 3-wound Terminator. You won't go that far wrong, but he's also got feel no pain. What you probably want to do is not play this army in small games. It's long and short of it, because you want to get good Canticles as much as anything else. The Canticles of the Omnissiah are brilliant. They're all really quite useful. Stubborn's kind of crap, but yeah, getting up to Fearless, if you can get it in a large army, pretty cool. Although half your army's Fearless anyway. Hammer of Wraths, basically. Rerolling close combat attacks, stealth and shrouded, bonus to strength, rerolling shooting attacks. If you can get a large army together, you can do some serious face damage. But you've got to get a large army together, which means you need 8 or more units. And the way to do that, well, that spends a lot of points because only 3 of those units are going to be your Electro Priest, and 1 is going to be 2 could be your Dominus. So you're going to need 3 more units, and 1 of them is probably at least going to be robots, 2 of them will be troops, and that's the bare minimum. If a single unit dies, well, reset because you're down to the lower section again, which is not bad, but it's not as good as it could be. So you're going to have troubles with horde armies. You're going to have a trouble probably with monstrous creatures, because Haywire helps with vehicles, don't do it to monsters, although you do have some weapons knocking around that are quite helpful. Plasma culverins, gravitic weapons, you'll probably handle monsters alright. Elite armies are your friend, big armies are your enemy. You also have no anti-flyer whatsoever. I can't remember if the Omega Doomcrawler can have Skyfire. I'll have to check when we do the combined Mechanicus review, which will be in the near future, assuming I can get my brain in gear. So, there we go. So, what do I think of the Cult Mechanicus Codex? Well, it's missing a bloody lot. It's missing core elements, like cheap stuff, so you can get an army out in small games, which it can't at the moment. It's missing anti-flyer, it's missing anti-horde desperately. I think it just get run over by a lot of horde armies if it's not careful. And I don't know. I think it won't work in small games. In big games, it'll be great. I think it's a sliding scale in terms of like a rating for giving this thing a rating. It's just going to get exponentially better as the games get larger. Like in small games, it's crap. Don't play it. If you're an amateur player, play Skitarii. In big games, different story entirely. So it's a good book, but I don't know if it's that good. And obviously, I've not faced it or played it with it on the table, so I can't speak from experience. If you are a Cult Mechanicus player, do let me know what you think, because I'll be interested to see what you guys have to say. So that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Next time on Warhammer 40,000 Codex Analysis, we do the Mechanicus review where we bring Skitarii and Cult Mechanicus together in a holy fusion of the Omnissiah's will. And hopefully fix half the problems that these bloody codices have. Because I've complained about both of them for one reason or another, but we'll get to that in the combined review. Thank you very much for watching. That was Michael for Tactica Imperialis. Until the next time, I'll see you all again. Bye for now.